Hello everyone, this is Father the Everchosen, back in Total War Warhammer 2, bringing you another quick battle, this time pitting my High Elves under the command of Alarielle the Radiant against my opponent's Dwarves under the command of Grombrindal the White Dwarf. So we'll go through my opponent's army composition, and then we'll shoot back over and we'll look at my army. So off to the flank over here, my opponent has decided to bring 3 gyro bombers. An interesting pick, but the bombs that they can drop are quite devastating. My opponent also has brought 2 units of hammers, 3 dwarf warriors with great weapons, and 4 rangers. He also has Grombrindal, as before mentioned, and a runesmith. My army consists of 2 basic spears, the Scions of Mathlan, 2 rangers, the Talons of Torquelada, the new ROR archers with flaming arrows, 2 lion chariots of trace, 2 nobles, and a silver helm. And one of these nobles, this one, is bringing the sacred incense for that plus 12 missile resistance for all my troops over here, bringing the white lions up to 42 missile resistance. So on the approach, I was worried about quarrelers or even thunderers. This will definitely help protect them, and of course the silver helms have the bronze shields, and as long as I'm on the approach, I've got that 30% block chance as well as the 12% missile resistance. So we're going to begin watching this. The first move I make is to bring my troops just past this little stretch of dry land, and I'm going to bring my cavalry up. I noticed that they have these gyro bombers off to my flank, and the starting balance of power is not looking very good for myself. But Alarielle is bringing not only her healing magic, but I have brought a banishment on her, so I'm hoping that I can get a nice blob and use that banishment to a devastating effect. So early doors, my opponent's getting quite a few kills on these spearmen, and then decides to target the much more important Talons of Torquelada, but the Talons will be shooting back. So that'll be going on the whole time while I'm positioning over here, getting everything off to flank my opponent. I've got Deadly Onslaught triggered, charging into Grombrindal. These white lion chariots just tear right through the hammerers and great weapons respectively, and the silver helms with shields get a nice charge into these rangers. And at this point, my opponent's entire right side kind of starts to collapse. I get the rangers in on these dwarf warriors with great weapons, and the rest of my army just slowly starts to advance. The Talons of Torquelada took quite a bit of punishment, but they still have most of their unit models. And for some reason, my opponent pulls away the gyro bombers and doesn't just finish them off. So at this point, I start doing the tale as old as time and cycle charging all of my units. Get this noble in here trying to save the other noble. I drop the Star of Avalon over here, healing, and I knew he was going to drop the bombs, so it actually mitigated a lot of that damage. Engage the Scions of Mathlan over here on these rangers, and I've got these silver helms coming right in for a really brutal rear charge. These white lion chariots get kind of hung up on this runesmith, but this other unit is currently trying to get rid of this ranger. So across the rest of the battlefield, everything is engaged. These dwarf warriors are about to rout, but this nice rear charge goes down, punting dwarves right into the Scions of Mathlan, and it will be quite devastating for those rangers. Alarielle sees this nice blob here, and my noble's getting pretty badly harassed in here. So she decides to drop a nice little banishment in here, bringing her about 30 kills, but really devastating that group of hammerers, and the second group of hammerers didn't go unscathed. I did lose that noble, and this other noble has routed, and will continue to route and come back, but that noble is pretty much counted as lost at this point. Drop some healing through here just to see if I can hold a little longer, because the real punching power of this army is the 2 chariots and the silver hounds. The silver hounds already up to 50 kills. These white lions at 24 and these at 17. Unfortunately, I didn't bring back up the Talons of Torquilado, which I should have been. They should have been firing this whole time, but they will come back and join the fun momentarily. And at this point, it's really just a game of cycle charge. I've got this white lion chariot getting harassed pretty bad, but these silver hounds getting these charges right into these rangers. So pretty bad. If Grombrindal hadn't activated his ability, I believe they would have all routed. And indeed, to back up my claim, they do, after the effects of his unbreakable special ability lapses. These spearmen and rangers do come back, but I'm going to pull them back and keep them out of the fight, more protecting the Talons, because I noticed that the gyro bombers have already all dropped their bombs and they're almost out of ammunition. This one's got 3 and this one's got 4 shots left. But at this point, I just kind of pull everything back, and the Scions of Mathland are just an excellent unit to hold. That 48 melee defense and the silver shield. The 40 armor isn't great, but that melee defense can be a big boon. Drop the other Star of Avalon here, keeping my Lion Chariot and the Silver Helms alive while they were flash bombed. And at this point, the balance of power has shifted from slightly in my opponent's favor to slightly in my favor. And everything over here, I just decide this Lion Chariot's going to prevent anything from coming back. And my opponent does have these 2 gyro bombers, but in melee combat, they just aren't the greatest. You know, their melee attack's 40, but their melee defense is 4. They're not going to do the work that they need to. And this gyro bomber looses its last volley. All of my infantry, save for these spears and these rangers, have routed off. And these spears and rangers are being activated again. The Talons still, you know, at half health, but they've got 57 models still, 13 shots left. And I've got my cavalry's still doing pretty good, half its models, but about a third of its health. And these 2 white lions, this one quite healthy, this other one lost a model and just about half health, but they're really ripping through my opponent's troops. And yeah, they have, of course, they have, you know, Grombrindal and this runesmith, but again, with the Talons still being here, they're going to be in a world of hurt. And of course, Alarielle has plenty of magic still to cast Earth Bloods. And if you look, nothing has reached its healing cap. And I think my opponent sees the writing on the wall, sees that his gyro bombers aren't going to be able to cut it in melee. Grombrindal and the runesmith at this point are far enough apart that I'm going to start keeping them separate so that you can't get the Rune of Negation or even Oath and Steel to, you know, get the ward save or get the plus 30 armor buff. And they're just going to get cycle charged to death. Unfortunately, that can be a pretty big problem for the dwarves, especially with me still having 2 units of armor-piercing chariots, it's just going to end poorly for them. At this point, my opponent had these hammers, which had a few models, these dwarf warriors with great weapons, which had a few models, and these rangers over here, which had a few models. But other than that, it was really just down to the gyro bombers and his lord and runesmith. But a hard-fought battle. I lost both my nobles in that, so I thank my opponent for a good fight. And if you look in here, you can see plenty of rangers and hammer corpses from that banishment, which we'll look here. I think that was the only damage I ever had Alarielle do. I don't believe I ever had her charge in. And, 45 kills off that may not seem like a lot, but when you only deploy 695 troops, that's close to 8% of your army. So, I don't know. I think that banishment paid for itself, and especially since the targets were the hammerers. I'm just quickly going to do this on a calculator and see. No, it's 6.4%. But even still. Then you've got, of course, the Silverhelms pulling the most weight, getting 93 kills. The Lion Chariots collectively getting, 112 kills. But their biggest use was in keeping routing units away. And then these Rangers, they're a low-cost unit, but 84 kills, I know the others only got 17, but those 84 kills against dwarf warriors with great weapons, it definitely helped. So I thank Sterngard for his admirable fight. And hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. Comments are always welcome down below. Try to respond to all of them with either an adjoining comment or a like. And if you appreciate the content that I put out, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel grow, and as the channel grows, the more content you're going to receive and the better the content will become. Thank you all, and as always, I've been Father of the Everchosen.